Welcome back to the comma series videos. This video is going to focus on commas when using coordinate adjectives. So let's talk a little bit about that. So the rule is that you would use a comma to separate two or more coordinate adjectives that describe a noun. So what this often looks like is the sentence you see here. He was a difficult, stubborn teacher. And so you can have many adjectives. Usually we try to avoid describing too many things. So you would see either two or three words that describe a noun, just like you see in the sentence there. So the rule is that you want to use a comma to separate what's called coordinate adjectives. And coordinate adjectives are basically adjectives that have equal status. And so we have a concept of what's called basically the order of adjectives, and so you can see which ones are sort of on the same line and others what make them different. And so one of the rules is to make sure that you do not put a comma before the final adjective and the noun. So what that means is that you don't want to use a comma here, right? Because this is going to be your last adjective and this is going to be the noun, so you want to make sure to avoid that. The other thing too is you want to avoid using commas with non-coordinate adjectives. So there are going to be times where you're going to have descriptive words that you're not going to use a comma. So let's talk about when that happens. So as I said before, we have the concept of order of adjectives. So essentially these are words that are all descriptive of some sort, but they fall under a category, things like opinion, size, age, shape, color, origin, material, purpose, and then of course lastly you have your noun. And so in this example we have the great round brown flying squirrel. So now you can see that we don't have commas here because the word round is a different kind of description and the word brown is a different one, as well as flying. Okay, so even though it sounds weird or that we may need a pause in this example, we are not going to use commas in this instance. So here's a test to determine when and when not to use them. Okay, so first you want to ask the question, does the sentence make sense if the adjectives are written in reverse order, right? And so if we look at the previous example, we can see that, can we say the great flying brown round squirrel? Not really. It kind of becomes awkward in that sense. So, and you'll notice that sometimes when you move some of these adjectives around, you'll feel or hear that sense of awkwardness, right? So that's going to be the first one. The second question is can I put the word and between them and it still makes sense? So again, going back to the previous one, we have he was a difficult and stubborn teacher. So in this example here, we can in fact write the word and. Now you might ask, do I always have to use a comma or can I use the word and? You can use the word and if you want to. Sometimes in when it comes to speeches, for example, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. used that often in his speeches. Instead of using the comma, he would use the and in order to really emphasize, right? So we could say he was a difficult and stubborn teacher. So it places emphasis on the two words, difficult and stubborn. But if you're not trying to do it for style purposes, then the comma is going to work well here. And so we can say he was a stubborn, difficult teacher. We can say he was a difficult, stubborn teacher. And we can put the word and in between. Okay, so let's look at these examples. In the first one, we have the unrelenting, strong summer sun beat down on the workers, and strong, suffocating sun beat down on the workers. So one thing that you're going to notice, right, is that we don't have a comma between strong and summer, because we can see that there are two kinds of descriptive words, right? So they're not coordinate in this example. However, unrelenting and strong are of similar status. So in this example, we're going to put the comma here, right? Next, in this sentence, we have unrelenting, we have strong, and we have suffocating. So we can see that all three of these are of equal status. So in this case, we're going to put the comma between all of them. And then, of course, lastly, as I said before, you would not put a comma before the noun. In this case, the sun is our noun. So let's look at a couple of sentences just to kind of test our knowledge. So here we have the Franklins lived in a brown wooden cabin. Now, do we need a comma in this? So ask yourself the question, can I put the word and in there? Can I flip them around? And will they still make sense? Okay. And then also ask yourself the question, are they different kinds of adjectives of what they're describing? So here, we know that we have cabin, right? This is our noun here. And so the words that come before them are going to be our descriptives. And we have brown and we have wooden. But these are two different kinds, right? Because we have color and we have texture or style, right? And those are going to be two different ones. So we would actually not put the comma in between them. And so we would not also say the Franklins lived in a brown and wooden cabin, because that would sound different, or wooden brown cabin. So we have the order of adjectives in play here. Finally, we have Mr. Blue Jeans was a tiny, ferocious kitten with a powerful needle-like teeth. So let's go ahead and find all of our adjectives here first, right? So of course we have, let's do our nouns. So this is our noun here. And then we have teeth, which is also our noun. So we have a couple sets, right, of descriptions. We have tiny and we have ferocious and we have powerful and needle-like. So we can see that tiny and ferocious are along the same lines. Let's apply our rules. Can we flip these around? Can we say Mr. Blue Jeans was a ferocious tiny kitten? Yes, we can. We can say Mr. Blue Jeans was a tiny and ferocious kitten. Yes, we can. So we would actually need a comma here. Let's look at the next one. And remember, we would not put a comma between ferocious and kitten because this is our noun. So here we have powerful and needle-like, describing teeth, okay? And powerful and needle-like are both this equal descriptions and how they are, right? So like the nature of sharp. So can we flip them? Can we say needle-like, powerful teeth? Yes. Can we say powerful and needle-like? Yes, we can. So we would need the comma here. So my final tip for you, when you're dealing with descriptions, right? So if you're using a couple of adjectives to describe a noun in your writing, it doesn't happen too often, but sometimes it does. Ask yourself the question, can I put the word and in between them? Can I flip them around? They still make sense. And are they of the same type of status? If they are, then you put a comma. If they are not, then you will remove the comma and leave it as it is.